Okay, my friend, let's talk about how to handle difficult people without losing your peace. So, does this sound familiar to you? Like, there are probably people in your life who can turn a perfectly normal day into what feels like an emotional roller coaster for you with just one comment or one look, one tone, or maybe it's like a passive aggressive sigh. And you walk away thinking, oh my gosh, like, why do I feel and react like this with them in their presence every single time? It's almost like they've got a bone to pick with you, or maybe you take the bait. Now, some people do train us, okay, but it's not because we are weak, but because dealing with them really does feel like walking through an emotional minefield with them. So let's just acknowledge that there are going to be people in this world who are difficult to you and me, okay? Now, who might be difficult to me might not be the same for you, but even still, in our minds, we consider them to be difficult. Now, you're not broken or you don't, like, not a weirdo for being thrown off by difficult people. You're not overreacting, you're not being too sensitive. It just makes sense because, like, dealing with them, the thoughts that we have when we're dealing with them are causing us to experience stress, okay? And when we show up having those thoughts about them, it just makes us feel as if that whole situation is difficult. Okay, but what actually makes someone difficult to you versus me? The stories that we tell ourselves. Okay, if you're telling yourself a story like that person should know better, even if it feels very true to you, okay, when your reality, that reality does not meet your expectation, there's a very good chance that you are going to feel frustration. Like your frustration is going to spike super high. Or if you have this assumption, you know, like we should be keeping the peace here, and if we don't, everything's going to blow up, that's going to lead to that person feeling very difficult to you, especially if you're trapped in this people pleasing cycle where you are, quieting your voice rather than speaking your truth. Difficult people feel difficult as well to us when we're absorbing their mood. Let's just say someone really is negative by the fact that they just are simply saying negative things all the time. Okay. And we're having to be in their presence. Okay. Sometimes we do absorb that mood. And again, it feels like that person's chaos has now become your responsibility. Or if you interpret their behavior as personal. If a person behaves in a way that you feel like they don't respect me, they don't care, they're just trying to get under my skin, even if none of it's actually true, that person is going to feel difficult to you. Or if you feel like they're stepping over your boundaries, okay, they're going to get angry if I tell them what I really think, or it's going to be awkward or whatever. Difficult people feel difficult because of a story that we have about their behavior. Now, here's the funny thing, okay? It's really funny, okay? The fact is, difficult people can still behave in the way they do, but that we can tell ourselves a different story. Because their behavior, if you're hoping that you can change their behavior, it's an assignment I will never give you because there's absolutely no way that you can change the way that people show up. People were born with free will and agency in this world. They're always going to do what they always do. The only thing that we have the power to change is our perspective, is our thoughts. We can't change them, okay, but we can change what we make their behavior mean. If we want to, you don't ever have to spend time with difficult people again if you don't want to. But if there's someone that you dearly love and that you still experience as difficult, okay, changing the way you think about them is going to give you back your emotional freedom. So stick with me. I know it's a lot to process, but once it's click, I feel like honestly, difficult people are going to lose like 80% of their emotional power over you. So, the first thing that gives them a little bit of grace, difficult people, is understanding that their behavior is always about them, not you. You might think, oh no, it's very personal. Like he always interrupts me, he must think I'm stupid. Or she's ignoring my message, she must be punishing me in some way. Or they're being cold, I must have done something wrong. These interpretations that you're having about their behavior could feel very true to you in the moment. But often it's just a guess, because like I said, you can't really know what they're thinking. You're just telling yourself a made up story. Okay, maybe it's a familiar script from the way that you grew up. It's like, but what if you were to tell yourself or ask yourself a different question? What if their behavior is all about them? Nothing to do with me. What if it's about their stress, their habits, their insecurities? Nothing to do with me. Okay, the moment you assume that it has nothing to do with you, you're going to find that your emotional intensity, the way that you feel about them, is just going to drop a notch. And all we're doing is dropping those little notches. Now, boundaries fail when your thought work, when you use your thoughts against you. Oftentimes people don't drain us because they're super powerful, superhumans. They drain you because of the thoughts that you're thinking about them that are making you feel so powerful. So if you're telling yourself a story like, well, it's my parents, I don't want to upset them, it's easy to just stay quiet, I'll deal with it later, they're not going to listen to me anyway. These thoughts make boundaries feel like impossible for you. Okay, but you can tell yourself a different story no matter who you're faced with. You're allowed to set boundaries. Your internal script, if it sounds like, well, I'm allowed to set limits even if I don't like it. My peace matters too. My opinion matters too. I can be kind and still very firm. And it's not my job to manage their reactions, okay? But you can choose to focus thoughts that make you stay in control as opposed to letting them have all over the control. You're not handing over your feelings to someone else, like leaving it at their disposal. Because what's going to happen, like when they stomp all over them because you gave them back that power, you've got to reclaim that power. And staying calm is always coming from you managing your thoughts, not managing them. Difficult people become like super difficult when, like the way you're thinking. It's like, here we go again. This is going to be so awful. It's going to create dread in you. Or they're just going to ruin my day. We just assume this ahead of time. You're handing your emotional control of them. Or it's like, I need them to behave differently in order for me to feel better. Okay, that's putting your peace in their hands. Why would you do that? Here's what you can choose to think instead. I can stay grounded no matter how anyone else shows up. Their reaction is always theirs alone. My response is mine. I don't ever have to match anyone else's energy, especially if I don't like their energy. Okay, I'm in control of my own energy and I can walk away at any time because you always can. Calm comes from these inner sentences, the stories you were telling yourself. Okay, even if the world out there is crazy, full of difficult people, you get to choose the way. You can still be calm. Calm yourself down with the thoughts that you're telling yourself. Because you really do reclaim your peace the moment you stop taking responsibility for other people's behavior and thinking it means anything about you. Their behavior is just like them doing them. You get to do you. You can stay in your lane emotionally. You don't have to absorb anyone's mood. Okay, you can choose calm even if they're choosing chaos. You don't need to argue with reality. You just get to decide how you want to respond to it. Okay, and you don't have to have them agree with you to set boundaries that are really important to you because your peace is yours to protect. And so I want you to think about a person that drains you. Okay, what is a thought that you think about them that leads to you assuming that they're difficult? Maybe it's like, she never listens to me. She's very aggressive. Oh my gosh, like he always gets defensive, or they don't care about my time. They don't respect my time. Okay, and what's a different way that you can think that puts the power back in your hands? I can speak clearly and calmly, whether they listen to me or not. That's fine. That's true. Because you're in control. You can speak calmly and clearly no matter what they're thinking or doing, whether they listen or not. Or I can stay grounded even if they get defensive. Or I can value my time even if they don't. You have the power here. Okay, because when it comes to difficult people, like handling them with clarity and confidence and calm, okay, you're not going to get swept up in old patterns just because you've seen other people react to difficult people in that way. You can choose a different way. I don't want you losing sleep over other people's behaviors. I want you to know that your thoughts are creating your experience, and ideally, you want to be choosing thoughts that protect your peace, okay, and put you back in the power of control. And if you want to build, a calmer, more empowered mindset, I definitely recommend that you check out my free guide. It's 5 thought shifts to help you get out of your own way. You can find the link in the description below. But in a nutshell, I want you to understand difficult people aren't going anywhere. They're always going to be around. They always have existed. They're always going to exist. But your way of reacting and showing up does not have to follow an old script that doesn't serve you. Okay, if it makes you feel really crappy, if they feel really crappy, choose to tell yourself a different story. Choose to set new boundaries. You can choose thoughts that keep you grounded. Okay, thoughts that protect your energy. Thoughts that make you feel proud about the way you showed up. That is your peace. That is your choice. And you get to decide exactly how you show up and what you choose to focus on and who you allow in your space and how often you allow in your space. It's all up to you, my friend. I hope that this has been helpful and I can't wait to catch you in the next video.